So this is the Elegoo Centauri Carbon, and it's a pretty nice machine. I use it quite a lot. It is a CoreXY machine, and CoreXY is the de facto standard for higher end machines. What it is essentially is a couple of motors, some belts and pulleys that's able to move the print head to any point in the XY plane, in this plane. The Z plane, which is this plane here, is taken care of by the bed plate, which moves up and down on lead screws. And so that's actually pretty accurate and has very little shake. The CoreXY design, because it's lighter and has less inertia, has allowed greater accuracy and greater speed in printing. And so the more higher end machines are able to print much faster and much more accurately, and things like 0.2, 0.1 of a millimeter resolution, they're becoming pretty standard. But of course, it relies on belt drives, so it has its own limitations. If you want to look at taking that resolution down even further to 0.05 or maybe even 0.005 of a millimeter, the belts themselves are going to become a problem. They're going to become a problem for simple reasons. When the temperature changes, those belts will shrink and stretch. Not by much, very true, but when you're looking at those kind of resolutions, that can actually spoil the resolution of a machine. And I was thinking, what would be an improvement, a way of getting over that? And in my mind, really, it's only doable with meshing gears. If we can get some kind of gear system to replace the pulley and drive system and the belt and the motors that we've got in here, we might be able to do that, get that resolution down even further. So what I'm looking for with those thoughts in mind is some kind of geared mechanical system that can move a point anywhere on the XY plane. Of course, we've seen a mechanism that might be able to do that already in this thing, the hypocycloid drive. As long as that circle in there is half the diameter of the circle it moves in, it will draw a straight line. If we keep it in that position, that line will always be backwards and forwards. But if we rotate the whole thing, we can get the line to go that way, anywhere we want, and would be able to cover that entire space. Now, like this, of course, it's all a bit too big. We have to make steel bits like that. When you think about a bed size, sort of 300 by 300, this would be huge and prohibitively expensive. However, motion is, of course, relative. And just because it moves inside the circle, believe it or not, doesn't actually have to be there. As long as we maintain the key elements of what the hypocycloid is doing, we can probably arrange it so we can get that movement without actually having the circle in place. Okay, let's have a bit of a closer look at this. Let's say we have a circle at 200 by 200, which is the distance we want it to describe. If we want a bed plate, we're probably looking about 300, 350, but this will be fine for us to have a look at. If we take a circle at 200 by 200 and add a circle 100 by 100 right there, as long as it's at the edge here and touching the center of the circle there, then 2 turns of that will travel it around there, and a point on that circle will be described on that circle there as that smaller circle travels around the big circle. Now, a very curious thing is that if we take a fixed point on that circle, like that, then as those circles move around, that point will actually travel in a straight line across the center of the 200 by 200, and that is the basis of the hypocycloid drive. Now, we want to get rid of this outer ring. It's a notional ring that is described as opposed to a real ring that we need to have. As long as we maintain those relationships, we should get exactly the same effect. So as long as this large circle has a center that goes to the center of the small circle rotates around the center of the large circle, and we have a fixed point on that, then we should be able to get it to work. And we should be able to get it to work with gears. So we can do that as long as we maintain that relationship. So if we place a couple of gears in there, a small one in the center of the disk we want to move, and a larger one on the center of the largest circle we want to move, and that gear ratio is in 2 to 1, so that is twice the size of that. Then if we rotate this large gear, as long as the small gear is fixed to the large gear with, say, an arm, then that gear will rotate pretty much in a sun and planet kind of way, but will rotate twice. If that fixed point is connected to this larger circle, or if we draw another arm in there, then that point should describe a straight line, even though it's moving around the inside. Of course, the thing to do is to print it and test it. So I printed it off as a quick model, and as I rotate this around, what should be immediately obvious is it doesn't work. This clearly is not describing a straight line across there, so I clearly have forgotten something. So I had to go back and have a rethink about it, and it suddenly became very obvious to me. When I rotate around an inner circle, then as this rotates here, that gear is rotating in that direction, anti-clockwise. Of course, if I were rotating around a ring, then because it's the opposite side, that gear would actually be rotating in the opposite way. So I need to change the direction of rotation. Changing the direction of rotation is pretty easy, actually. You just drop in an idle gear. Idle gears have the unusual property in that they don't change the gear ratio, but they will change the direction of rotation. The reason they don't change the gear ratio is because if I have an idle gear and I get a step down gear ratio from the main gear to the idle gear, it's exactly equal to the step up ratio that I get from the idle gear to the driven gear. So idle gears have no effect on the gear ratio, they just change direction of rotation. So clearly, what I need to do to take care of my mistake is reprint this, but with an idle gear in between. And here is the reprinted version. Now this is the sled that carries everything, and it has a driving gear there that forces into that hole there. This is the foot. This bit is going to be static and attached to the foot, but the sled needs to move around it. So it goes in there so that the sled can pivot on it, and then that gets in there so it's fixed to that part. Before we fix the sled to the foot, this bit is the actual bit that's going to drive it, and it goes through there, and there's a little turny handle that goes on there, and then we attach the sled to the foot. So now if we hold the foot and turn that handle, then the sledge moves around, but that stays still relative to the sled. So now the arm goes on top of this gear and it clips in place, and then these two gears drop into their positions. Okay, so let's hold the foot and we'll turn our gear. Now, what you should notice is that this part here, that point there, will travel in a straight line. Alright, let's see if we can demonstrate this a little bit better. What I've done is set up a straight line here, and we'll put this point onto the straight line and see if we can see it moving. So it's this point that you're interested in, and as I hold the foot and turn that gear, we should see that move in a straight line. So there we go. So what we have is a pretty complex hypocycloid mechanism where the length at this point can move is twice the distance of these two. So it can move a long way, covering a straight line for that area. And if we want to cover the whole of that circle, well, all we really do is turn the foot. So we need another bit on here with the gear on it where we could place that, because that will move in a straight line from whatever position it's in, covering the entire distance. And of course we only have to rotate that 90 degrees in order to cover that entire distance. Now, it's named after John Goodman, who came up with it in 2021. It's called a Goodman mechanism. And the key points are this gear and this gear must be in a ratio of 2 to 1. They don't necessarily need to be in a straight line. And then this point must come to the midpoint of that, so that that arm is at the midpoint of that gear. As long as you do that, then you're going to make a pretty good hypercycloid. And as I say, if we're rotating the foot, what we've got is a potential compact mechanism for replacing drive belts on 3D printers. I think that's actually pretty interesting. Now, I'm going to put this Goodman mechanism up onto Thingiverse, should anybody be interested with it and want to play around with that. I certainly would like to look a bit more at the possibility of turning this into the support for the print head to reconfigure and redesign 3D printer XY mechanisms. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it interesting. Thank you very much for watching, and please do remember to like and subscribe.